There is a man you have never heard of who did something that most people would call pointless. Every single day for 10 years he trained, not occasionally, not when he felt motivated, not when life was convenient or the weather was good or the circumstances aligned. Every day, without exception, no one was watching, no sponsor, no followers counting his streak. Just a man, a body, and a decision made so many times it stopped feeling like a decision at all. And here is the strange part. He will tell you that the training was never really about the body. Most of us think about physical training the way we think about upgrading a machine. You stress the muscle repairs, you become stronger. It's mechanical, measurable, satisfying in a clean, legible way. But somewhere around year 3, this man noticed something he hadn't anticipated. The body was changing, but so was something else entirely. The ancient Greeks had a word, askesis. It meant practice, discipline. The deliberate application of difficulty not to punish the body but to forge the character inside it. The Stoics trained physically not because they wanted impressive physiques. They trained because they understood something that modern science is only now beginning to confirm. The body and the mind are not separate systems running parallel to each other. They are one system, and how you treat one determines what happens to the other. Neuroscientists at the University of British Columbia found that regular aerobic exercise literally increases the size of the hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for memory, learning, and emotional regulation, not metaphorically larger, physically, measurably, structurally larger. Think about what that means. Every time this man laced up his shoes and chose difficulty over comfort, he was not just building muscle, he was rebuilding the architecture of his own mind, neuron by neuron, day by day, for 10 years. But the science only explains the mechanism. It doesn't explain what the man actually learned. He learned that the hardest moment in any training session is never the physical peak, it's the moment before you begin. That quiet negotiation between the part of you that wants to grow and the part of you that wants to stay exactly as you are. Every philosopher worth reading has described this moment in a different language. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control. What is within your power and what is not? You cannot control whether your legs are tired. You cannot control whether the morning is cold or your sleep was poor. But you can control the decision, that small, quiet, daily decision to begin anyway. The man who trains every day for 10 years is not a superhuman. He is simply someone who has made that decision so many times that the resistance has lost most of its power over him. Psychologists call this process automaticity, the transformation of deliberate, effortful behavior into something closer to instinct. But what they sometimes fail to mention is the deeper consequence of that transformation. When you build a daily practice rigorous enough to survive 10 years, you are not just building a habit, you are building an identity. An identity, once forged in that kind of sustained effort, begins to generalize. The man who can keep a promise to himself every single morning starts keeping promises in every other area of his life, not because he decided to become more disciplined in general, but because discipline, practiced long enough, stops being a behavior and becomes a lens. He starts seeing the world differently. Challenges stop reading as threats and start reading as information. Discomfort stops signaling danger and starts signaling growth. The gap between who he is and who he could be stops feeling like an accusation and starts feeling like an invitation. This is what the body teaches the mind when you give it enough time, not toughness in the crude sense, not the performance of suffering, but something quieter and far more powerful. The lived embodied knowledge that you are capable of becoming someone you could not previously imagine. Modern culture sells transformation as an event, a revelation, a breakthrough moment, a single decision that changes everything overnight. And that story is seductive because it requires nothing from you today. But the man who trained every day for 10 years knows something different. Transformation is not an event, it is a direction. You do not wake up one morning rebuilt. You wake up every morning and choose, again, the direction you have chosen before. And slowly, almost invisibly, the accumulated weight of those daily choices begins to reshape everything: your body, your mind, your relationship to difficulty, your sense of what is possible. The ancient Stoics believed that every morning was a kind of rebirth, that each day offered the human being a chance to practice being the person they intended to become, not to achieve it finally and completely, simply to practice it. One more time. 10 years is 3,650 mornings, 3,650 quiet negotiations between who you are and who you are becoming, 3,650 decisions that nobody saw, nobody applauded, and nobody recorded. And at the end of it, the man is not the same man who began, not because the training made him harder, but because choosing difficulty consistently for long enough taught him the one thing that no lecture, no book, and no motivational video ever could. That he was someone who did not quit. And once you know that about yourself, truly know it, not as a belief but as evidence accumulated over a decade of showing up, nothing looks quite the same again. The question is never whether you are capable of that kind of transformation. The question is only whether you are willing to begin.
'Cause every time